Did you know that millions of Filipinos work abroad, powering industries from healthcare to shipping, hospitality to construction? They're often called the backbone of the global workforce. But here's the shocking truth. Some countries tried to replace Filipino workers with cheaper labor, stricter immigration rules, or local hires, and ended up regretting it. Today, we're counting down the 15 countries that failed after replacing Filipinos. Stay tuned until number 1. It's a story that shocked the entire world. 15. Kuwait has long been one of the biggest employers of overseas Filipino workers, OFWs, especially domestic helpers, nurses, and skilled laborers. At one point, over 250,000 Filipinos were working in the country. They were highly sought after for their patience, discipline, and ability to adapt to households with very different cultures. But things started to change around 2018, when the Philippines imposed a temporary ban on sending workers to Kuwait. This came after several cases of abuse and tragic deaths of Filipino domestic workers, sparking outrage back home. In response, Kuwait began recruiting from countries like Ethiopia, Nepal, and Sri Lanka to fill the gap. The gamble didn't pay off. Many Kuwaiti households reported language barriers, poor training, and cultural differences that made it harder to maintain harmony in homes. Employers often compared the replacements unfavorably, admitting that Filipinos had stronger English skills, better patience with children, and a more professional approach to caregiving. Even Kuwait's healthcare system was hit hard. Hospitals and clinics, which relied heavily on Filipino nurses, experienced staff shortages and a decline in service quality. Patients and administrators alike noticed the gap left by Filipinos' absence. Over time, Kuwait had to return to the negotiating table with the Philippine government. They signed agreements guaranteeing better protection for Filipino workers, just to convince Manila to allow deployments again. The message was clear. Replacing Filipinos was not just difficult, it was costly and unsustainable. 14. Qatar, one of the wealthiest nations in the Gulf, faced a similar challenge. As it prepared for the FIFA World Cup in 2022, the country needed an enormous workforce to build stadiums, highways, and hotels, as well as to staff its booming hospitality sector. At first, Qatar looked to diversify its labor pool. When Filipino deployments slowed, it turned heavily to workers from Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and Pakistan. These workers were cheaper, but Qatar quickly learned that cost savings came at a bigger price. In construction, poorly trained replacements led to delays, safety issues, and global criticism after thousands of accidents and deaths were reported on World Cup projects. The absence of Filipinos, who were known for their technical skills and ability to follow strict safety protocols, became painfully obvious. In hospitality, the difference was even clearer. Hotels, airlines, and restaurants had relied on Filipinos for their warmth, fluency in English, and natural customer service skills. When Filipinos were replaced with workers from other regions, many international guests complained about the drop in service quality. Global brands operating in Qatar, from luxury hotels to Qatar Airways, discreetly pushed for more Filipinos to return because they were key to maintaining international standards. In fact, some travel experts even noted that the Filipino smile became a hidden asset for Qatar's image abroad. Ultimately, Qatar realized that while cheaper labor might fill positions, it couldn't replace the professionalism, adaptability, and human touch that Filipinos brought to the job. Their absence was felt across industries, reminding Qatar that in the global workforce, quality often matters more than cost. 13. Hong Kong households have long relied on Filipino domestic workers, but rising demand and higher wages led some employers to switch to Indonesian helpers. Here's the problem. Language barriers became a massive issue. Communication breakdowns with elderly care patients and children became common. Employers realized Filipinos' English fluency and adaptability were hard to replace. Many ended up rehiring Filipinos despite the higher cost. 12. Saudi Arabia. The kingdom once employed over 1 million Filipinos, but during its Saudization policy, it pushed companies to hire locals instead. The result? Many industries, from retail to healthcare, faced productivity declines. Local workers often avoided difficult or low-paying jobs. Businesses reported high turnover and low efficiency. Eventually, Saudi companies themselves pressured the government to relax restrictions and rehire foreign workers, especially Filipinos in healthcare and technical roles. 11. Singapore. Singapore's government experimented with reducing reliance on foreign workers, including Filipinos in healthcare and services. Some hospitals tried replacing them with workers from other ASEAN countries. The outcome? Complaints about patient care quality skyrocketed. Filipinos were known for their compassion and communication, which new hires couldn't easily replicate. Hospitals quietly reversed course and increased Filipino recruitment again. 10. United Arab Emirates, UAE, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi are hubs for Filipino workers. But in the mid-2010s, some sectors reduced Filipino hiring, focusing instead on cheaper South Asian labor. Hotels and airlines quickly noticed a drop in customer satisfaction scores. Guests valued the warmth and service skills of Filipinos. Airlines like Emirates and Etihad quietly increased Filipino flight attendants again, realizing their role in keeping global prestige. 9. Taiwan's factories and households have long employed Filipinos, but at one point, Taiwan shifted towards hiring more Vietnamese workers. However, employers complained about communication gaps, cultural misunderstandings, and higher turnover rates. Filipino workers' reputation for reliability and loyalty forced many companies to bring them back. 8. Italy. Italy's domestic care industry has thousands of Filipino caregivers, but economic downturns pushed Italian families to hire cheaper alternatives from Eastern Europe. The shift didn't last long. Families reported trust and cultural issues, especially in caring for the elderly. Filipinos' patience, faith-driven values, and ability to blend into Italian households made them irreplaceable. Italy remains one of Europe's top destinations for Filipino caregivers. 7. South Korea. In manufacturing and agriculture, South Korea experimented with reducing Filipino hires and increasing other Asian labor under its employment permit system. But employers quickly found Filipinos were more adaptable to high-tech industries and less likely to quit abruptly. Language training also worked better with Filipinos, thanks to their strong English base. South Korea quietly restored Filipino worker quotas after facing losses. 6. Japan. Japan's aging society needs caregivers. At first, they preferred hiring local trainees and some Chinese workers, but cultural barriers, communication struggles, and patient dissatisfaction grew. Filipinos, trained under government-to-government programs, proved to be more caring, reliable, and emotionally intelligent. Japanese families eventually pushed to expand Filipino recruitment, especially in elderly care. 5. Canada. Canada's temporary foreign worker program once relied heavily on Filipinos in healthcare, caregiving, and food services. But policy shifts opened doors to other countries. Employers soon realized Filipinos had lower turnover and were more community-oriented. Nursing homes especially demanded more Filipino caregivers, after struggling with replacements who couldn't match their work ethic or warmth. 4. United Kingdom. The UK's National Health Service, NHS, faced staffing crises and tried recruiting more from Africa and Europe instead of Asia. But the results were mixed. Many hospitals reported Filipinos as among the most reliable and caring staff. Their absence led to patient complaints, higher stress levels, and operational challenges. Today, the NHS remains one of the top employers of Filipino nurses worldwide. 3. Malaysia. Malaysia once reduced its intake of Filipino domestic workers after bilateral tensions. They replaced them with Cambodians and Indonesians. The result? Rising complaints about abuse cases, lack of training, and even bans from Cambodia on sending more workers. Malaysia eventually had to re-engage the Philippines because households openly demanded Filipino workers back. 2. United States, yes, even the U.S. When stricter visa rules reduced Filipino migration in the 2000s, hospitals and nursing homes turned to other workers. But the U.S. quickly learned how essential Filipinos were in nursing. With their strong medical training, English skills, and cultural adaptability, Filipinos often outperformed replacements. The nursing shortage worsened when fewer Filipinos entered, forcing America to open new pathways for them again. 1. Lebanon. Finally, at number 1, Lebanon. Once home to tens of thousands of Filipinos in domestic work and caregiving, Lebanon faced diplomatic rifts with Manila. Many Filipinos left, replaced by workers from Ethiopia and other African countries. The consequences were severe. Households reported higher cases of conflict, communication breakdowns, and worker mistreatment. Lebanon's economy also suffered as remittance-driven services weakened. Even Lebanese employers admitted that Filipinos' professionalism, loyalty, and adaptability were impossible to match. And there you have it, 15 countries that failed after replacing Filipinos. This countdown proves one thing: Filipino workers are not just migrant labor. They are the heartbeat of industries worldwide, From hospitals to households, airlines to hotels, their work ethic, compassion, and resilience cannot be replaced. What do you think? Should more countries value Filipino workers instead of taking them for granted? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more global stories like this one.